Well, good morning. I'm on the summit of, well, near the summit. The summit's just behind me. I've come over the top. I'm just down on some rocks near the very top of the Wrekin in Shropshire. It's the highest hill kind of in the Telford, Wellington area, and very prominent hill as well. So it's kind of very much the opposite of the hill I was on yesterday. Brownclea is the highest hill in Shropshire, but isn't particularly rocky. What I'm going to do is I'll stop this a second and then just give you an idea of the scenery around here. So again, it gives really expansive views out. That hill over there, that's Brownclea over there. Looking over the Severn Valley right now, there's little threads of mist below me, but not as much as I was hoping for. There's a lot more mist to the east. The sun will be rising in that direction in around about 15 minutes. So I need to find myself something nice to use as foreground for that. Although I'm hoping is that the light will, if I just go out here a second, climb these rocks. The light's going to rake down this hillside here. Tilt you, always do that. There you go. So that's a lovely little meadow there, and it's got larches all around it. I'm going to head down there when the sun comes up. Although actually using these rocks as foreground, you can already see there's quite a nice ambient glow. So it'll probably already make a decent image. Blue light. It's kind of blue hour right now. And going around from here, we've got kind of the flattest part of Shropshire, north of Telford now, towards Newport, Whitchurch. That's the top of the Wrekin with this radio mast, being made very famous by a few local photographers. And then out and over Little Wenlock and over to the east in the West Midlands. Just to really illustrate this ambient glow thing, sticky light as I call it, you can see there's no sun up. And yet, all the way down the side of these rocks is a really nice kind of glow. It's picking up some of that colour and light in the sky. This rock here actually has got a bit of a pinky glow anyway, but it's really helped by the fact that there's strong light out to the east at the moment. There's an illustration as to how popular this hill is. I left my car to come up here at 6 o'clock, and in the pitch black came up the path, and 11 people came down. So they'd already been up for pre-dawn to stand in the dark before going to work or whatever. Yeah, a bit of litter here, I might take that back down with me. So this is a very popular and very well trodden hill. Whereas Brownclea, which is really surrounded by a few small villages and hamlets, is much harder to get to, so it really sees an awful lot less footfall than the Wrekin. They were both about equidistant from where I used to live, so I probably climbed each of them a similar amount of times over the years. Apologies again for the wind noise. The wind speed on this particular morning was literally 1 to 2 miles an hour, but I forgot to factor in the turbulence that you get over ridge lines and so on, so every now and then there were little bits of kind of gusting wind coming over. So I knew exactly where I wanted to start the day, and I started off by flying the drone a little bit, get a sense of kind of the height and the space that there is up there. But very quickly I went over to my long lens, and as the sun started to get close to the horizon and actually come up, colours over to the east, to the mist lying in the Severn Valley over Ironbridge, and beyond that into the West Midlands, you can just see in some of my pictures the tower blocks of probably Wolverhampton and Dudley area. But I wanted to kind of capture that slight colour shift as the sun came up, and then as soon as it was in the air I flew the drone again and just enjoyed really some of the first light along the woodlands on the eastern flank of this lovely hill. Well, I have to say that the light is absolutely spectacular, and it's made kind of more perfect by the fact that this is a combination of kind of lingering mist and some of the high cloud as well. This is out towards Shrewsbury way. Absolutely amazing. I've been kind of sat on these rocks really for the last hour and a half. That's the top of the hill just there, but I'm going to take a shot in this direction now, there's no doubt about it. It's just got this beautiful atmosphere. Really, really lovely. Excuse my shadow. Coming around this way, looking down towards the Stretton Hills. That little lump in the middle now is Caradoc. And then you've got the valley there, which will be Apedale. That's kind of underneath Wenlock Edge. You've got Wenlock Edge, Brownclere in the background. Shropshire at its best, really. I've had a little audience here for a while. I was working earlier on and there were 4 or 5 people sat around me, obviously quite happy with me cracking on with my work and even flying the drone. Very, very different to Brownclere yesterday. This light, if I'd have had this light on Brownclere, I'd have been overjoyed. I think this is absolutely sensational, and I suppose the hill's a bit quieter than I was expecting. So over the next 30 minutes or so I alternated really between making stills images and also flying the drone and really capturing the light. It was glorious conditions, and it's such a lovely kind of outlook from up there anyway. But what I didn't realise until I'd looked at the footage was that I'd had a kind of close encounter with a small herd of deer which were running below me on one of the tracks. And you can see in this footage here that there's probably half a dozen or more deer coming out of the woods and along the hillside. really is one of those days where you feel that you don't want to leave. It's quite amazing. It's beautiful up here. And now it's definitely time for a coffee. I think I've been up here for at least 2 hours now, so the can isn't mine. Stella Artois for breakfast. No, thank you. It's funny really, I moan about places being busy, but the reality is, I know I've had a few people sat quite close to me this morning while I've been working, but it's actually, you know, there's still a real sense of peace in a place like this. Maybe going down this rib here might be quite nice. Let's have a look. Never been down here before. I've climbed the Wrekin loads of times. Sometimes I remember once I climbed it twice in the morning and then once in the afternoon, on the same day with my family. So I've done it kind of 3 times in a day. But I'm wondering about what this might be like. So it's quite a hefty lump of rock over there. That's quite nice, isn't it? Yeah. Imagine this with those larches all yellow, flaming away in the autumn. I might take a record shot for now though. So I spent about half an hour at this location and found a composition I'm really happy with. Probably not perfect conditions on this occasion, but certainly for a future autumn or even a winter dawn, I think this would be an amazing place to come. Somewhere I hadn't found before, but you know, there's always something new to find at every location you ever go to. So with jobs to do that day and top of the hill getting busier anyway, I finally decided to head back down to my car. And no matter how popular a hill is, there's always going to be a quieter way up or down it. And on this occasion I climbed the main route because it was the most direct and quickest way to the top. But even though there were people descending the hill at that time of the day, 6 AM, it was still relatively empty. I really do prefer my outdoor pursuits to be solo affairs or accompanied by just 1 or 2 people who get the same joy out of just being out there as I do. I'm not really much of a conversationist, and you know, so I walked the coast to coast with my father many years ago, and we spent a lot of the time just silently enjoying the experience. So my favourite way up the Wrekin involves just a short section of the main track, and then I'll take a left-hand turn off the path, which takes me on a slowly descending line along the eastern side of the hill, and it arrives eventually at a brutally steep ascent which goes straight up the south ridge to emerge at the two grassy meadows I mentioned earlier in this episode. It's much further and much steeper, and as a consequence it's got a fraction of the footfall of the main path. It's a route that I nicknamed the World of Hurt when I first climbed it, due to its unrelenting gradient. Really steep at the bottom, quite loose and rocky as well up through a woodland, and then eventually it breaks out onto the open hill. The real added bonus though for me is the varied scenery en route, passing through lush deciduous woodlands. Then you've got quiet forestry plantations, you've got this steep rocky ground which really kind of rivals the terrain around Cardinal Valley and Church Stretton. And all along the route there are places that invite you to stop and enjoy what is an ever expanding view out over Shropshire. And everyone I've ever met along there seems to be there for the same reasons as me, which is really just to have a proper relaxing and energising outdoor experience. Having walked the reverse of this route, it wasn't long until I reached the final descent of the day back on the main tourist track, which now, being 10:30 in the morning, it felt really as busy as a shopping mall. You'll see from the footage. This was, bear in mind, was only a Tuesday morning. Goodness knows what it's like on a weekend these days. Of course, I was heading home smug in the knowledge that I'd enjoyed all that peace and quiet and tranquility on the summit. Well, if you made it this far, once again, thank you very much for watching. If you can take the time to like and subscribe and even hit the notification button, that would be fantastic. I look forward to seeing you in the next episode, and I'll leave you with some stills and some drone footage from this visit and from previous visits to the top of this hill. Thank you.